Hi everyone and welcome to Social Science class 8, and I do hope that you guys are sitting with your textbook. So before we start with education and social reforms, just a gentle reminder that this is part 3 and we will finish this lesson in this class today. So let's begin with the first lesson that we did in education and social reforms. So we started the lesson with reading and understanding how did the English introduce their own ways of education to Indians. We read and we understood that the regional languages took a back seat and it was more of English. People really wanted to learn this language because they wanted to get into government service. So if you were not well versed in English, you would not get the government service. So hence everyone, especially the middle class, decided that it is better to go with the flow. So Lord Macaulay was one of those who was a pioneer in introducing English language and English education. There were few missionaries also, Christian missionaries also, who opened a lot many schools, especially primary schools. Now, the reason that English education was introduced was that the British government wanted that Indians should come forward to serve in the empire. They also wanted them to be kind of a servant to them by learning this language. They actually thought that it would be better that they employ Indians in the government rather than bringing Britishers to the country. That would have been very, very expensive for them. But did this English education really help the cause of the Britishers, or the people who were learning this language, the people who were understanding the text coming from different countries, did they get an idea and a feeling of nationalism? So we understood that a feeling of nationalism came through this English education. So that was all about part 1. Then part 2, we studied about the social reformers. There were few social reformers in the country wherein they helped the Indian society that was full of dogmas, there was full of blind beliefs, to start believing in scientific temper. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a very, very important social reformer. Also a reminder that whatever reforms that came about in the Indian society, they were absolutely in support with the British government. They could not have made any progress in the society if the Britishers would have not supported them by bringing in laws to stop the practices. So the social evils that we studied about was sati was there, then child marriage was there, widows were not allowed to remarry. Um, then there was this evil of caste system that still is prevalent in the Indian society. So these were the few social evils that all the Indians were facing, hardships, and that is how these social reformers came into being. They also opened their own schools. They also had an Arya Samaj that was opened. So with these social reformers coming into being, the scenario of the Indian society changed. Also, a feeling of Swadeshi, also a feeling of nationalism came into being. So, now we are going to continue with this chapter and we finish it in part 3. So the title, as I already said, is Education and Social Reforms, part number 3. This is again your chapter number 6 and pages 47 to 49. So, this is a picture that tells you that 200 years ago, India had a different social structure with its share of prejudices especially against the tribal, especially against the communities who were not upper caste. Superstitions and practice, superstition that if you cross 7 seas, your religion is going to be in danger. So these were kind of practices and superstitions which now at least the modern India does not believe in. There was polygamy especially with the nobles and the rich people around. Sati was there, and there was limited or no access to education for women. We did read that education was given to the boys at home, and most of the education that was given was that they heard or they listened to the text and then they crammed it. But with the Britishers coming in, the press also started being established, and the papers, the education material, everything was printed and given to the students. So let's see how and what else is left there for the reform in education and in society to see what we are today now here. So ideas against caste system. So as I said, caste system is still very much in the society, very much prevalent. Maybe not in as it was before 1947. Maybe not that regressive, but we still have the caste system. So there was a lady Jyotibai Phule who was one of the Jyotibai Phule, who was one of the reformers of modern India and who worked to get justice for Dalits and the downtrodden. So Dalits are one which are the if you have the ladder of the Hindu society, you would find them at the bottom. And also, they are said that they are not to be touched, because if you touch them, you will um, be dirty or you will not be a Hindu. So these were Dalits and these were downtrodden. They had no economic freedom. They were not earning much. And of course, education was absolutely not given. So I'm sorry, it's not a woman, he founded Satya Sadhak Samaj, and it was a group whose main aim was to literate the Hindu Shudra. So Dalits and Shudra, it means the same, an untouchable caste from exploitation and oppression. So oppression was mainly by the Brahmins, exploitation also was from the rich Brahmins and the priest. He argued that education of women in the lower caste was a vital priority in addressing social inequalities. He said if women in India were educated, even that is something that even now we say it, if women were educated, the entire generation would be educated. And especially the women in the lower caste, they have to be educated so as to start working and improve their own economic condition as well as their families. After that, we had Veer Sangalam. Now, he was the one who was in the Telugu Indian society, and that means that the north and the south, almost the entire India, was fighting for social changes. So, he started Vivekardani, a monthly magazine, to point out and criticize the flaws in the society. So, he took the help of press to express his opinions that we need to change, we need to progress. He started a girls' school and in 87 to encourage women's education. In 84, he also established another school for girls, and that was in Rajamundry. So there were two schools that he established, and they were only for the girls so as to encourage the women education in India. So these were our two social reformers. Let's move forward and see if there were more. So the next one is Sri Narayan Guru. Sri Narayan Guru was one of the greatest reformers of India, and he was a contemporary of Mahatma Gandhi, but he belonged to Kerala. Contemporary means he was a social reformer who was there when Mahatma Gandhi was also there. So he was from Kerala, not from North India. And there was an ashram that he founded, and this was an important event in his own spiritual quest. So, which means that being a social reformer, he was also a spiritual guru. And because he wanted to go on the path of spirituality, he found one ashram. And this is the ashram that is dedicated to all the principle that all human beings are equal in the eyes of God. So he believed in the mantra of one caste, one religion, one God for mankind. If we do have this one caste system in the Hindu religion, that would be surely a boon to progress further. One religion, if we follow one religion, if we start following one God, then there would be no fights, especially on who's the superior God and who's not. So, way back before 1947, we had Sri Narayanan Guru who believed in one caste, one religion, one God for mankind. And this is something that the entire world seeks even today. Okay, so Periyar is one of the very, very famous social atheist reformer. And even now, if you go to Tamil Nadu, you will see Periyar is really worshipped like a god. So his legacy is still followed by most of the political parties as well. So he was an atheist, that means he did not believe in religion. But he was a very, very great social reformer, activist, and he was also the founder of Dravidar Kazhagam and the self respect movement in Tamil Nadu. He is known as the father of modern Tamil Nadu. He fought, he came from the lower caste, and due to him, the first amendment got the interest of lower caste. His aim was not political independence but social equality. So if you go through, if you read through and you understand that most of the social reformers were not fighting for independence from the British rule. Rather, they wanted to work along with the Britishers to bring in rules and laws so that the Indian society could progress. So Periyar was also one of them who was only looking for social equality among all human beings instead of fighting for the independence from the Britishers. But Periyar is one of the founder of modern Tamil Nadu, and he's still very, very relevant in the Tamil Nadu society. Next comes Mahatma Gandhi. I don't think he needs any introduction. He's the one who gave us the freedom. He's the one who chose the path of non-violence, and that is how most of the Indians are still known. So he started the freedom movement that we all know. He started the Swadeshi and the non-cooperation movement. He believed in self-respect of Indians. He also believed in women and emancipation. Most of us only know him as the greatest freedom fighter, as the father of the nation. Less of us would know that he was also a great social reformer. So we actually think and regard him as the greatest soul that India has ever seen. He believed in the doctrine of Satyagraha. Satyagraha means that you follow the path of truth always. He was the first one to have started acknowledging untouchability, and he called them Harijans. He would sit with them, eat with them, drink with them, and he would also clean toilets along with them, just to establish a role, just to tell the others, especially the upper caste Hindu society people, that there is nobody who is untouchable. We are all children of God and we should all be equal. He started the civil disobedience movement. He started Dandi March, which was a salt satyagraha, and he always believed in social equality. He also believed in women education, and he also believed that man and woman are equal in a marriage relationship. He believed in non-violence, and that is what actually, if you see, that is what something that India had not seen before Mahatma Gandhi came into the political picture. So, non violence is a contribution of Mahatma Gandhi to the entire world. Then, the most important one, Bhim Rao Ambedkar. If you have gone through his autobiography and biographies, you will see that Bhim Rao Ambedkar was the one who came from a lower caste, and he soon rose through the ranks, And because he came from an untouchable caste, he understood what those people go through, and he was also the founder of our Indian Constitution. He was our first law minister when we got independence in 1947 from the Britishers, and he always fought for social equality and always fought for the rights of the lower caste. Um, if you are coming from the same background, I think um, you understand the emotions and you understand the struggle more than a person who's coming from a upper class background. So he is regarded, as we all know, the father of the Indian Constitution. He organized untouchable political parties, and he thought that if political parties also start moving in the direction of um, making sure that the untouchable or the Dalits or the Harijans get a political platform to voice their opinions, the condition of the untouchables will surely improve. So he organized untouchable political parties. He also had social organization and served in the Legislative Council of British India. So even before India got independence, even before he was the first law minister, he was also a part of legislative councils of British India, just to make sure that the untouchables get a greater say in the political decisions. He also gave free legal help because he had a legal background. He was a trained advocate. So whenever a person, whenever a community wanted some legal help from him, he gave them free of charge. He also counseled people to stop drinking and gambling. Again, drinking and gambling, even today, it's absolutely a good advice for all of us in the entire world, not only in India. So he gave free legal help and also counseled people to stop drinking and gambling, so that the money that you earn is not wasted here. Instead, you can use it for your education. So, what was the result of activities of these reformers? What did India gain, or what did the Indian society gain by these social reformers who actually gave their entire life so as we can have a good modern society? So it removed the ill and cured Indian religion. So Indian religion was going down in the dumps. There was so many blind beliefs and superstition that happened. So these social reformers tried their level best to remove these ills and cured the Indian religion of these. It did help us to make a new India by introducing modern concept, by introducing the British education, by introducing a scientific and a logical mental state. Now, if I were to ask you to go through back again and remind yourself what all did we study in these part 1, 2 and 3, I would want you to name two social reformers of India. Remember, even in part 2, we did social reformers of India. So if you want to choose from there any two social reformers, you can do. If you want to choose from part 3, you can do that. If you would want to elaborate what they have done, that also you can do. Or if you just want to name, you can just write 1 and 2 in the name. The second one is, what was the contribution of Mahatma Gandhi and Bhim Rao Ambedkar in reforming the Indian society? Now remember, I am not asking for Mahatma Gandhi's contribution to the political life or the freedom of India. I'm not asking that. I'm asking you to write the contribution as a social reformer, both of them. So we come to the end of the class. I do hope that you've understood, because I've broken this whole lesson into 3 parts so that it could have been easier for you to understand. So bye-bye for now.